So we start in Dublin. We then go north. So hopefully joining us online is Siobhan Casey. Currently, Siobhan is the Commissioner for Older People for Northern Ireland. And I think as you listen to Siobhan talk, you'll get a sense of the range of different intelligence that this programme has been gathering. Siobhan, are you there? Hello.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly well. Glorious. Yeah. You're very welcome. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today.
So, you have a couple of things to talk to us about. Your experience of the Global Brain Health Institute, kind of where you're at now, what you're doing now, and also where you might go to into the future. Let's start with the past. So, what one thing might you take from your experience with the Global Brain Health Institute?
I think what the big takeaway for me was a memory I have of, sitting in the boardroom down in Trinity College one day. And I came from a business background. And then I was working at that time with a charity in Northern Ireland called Age NI. So I was there and I was sitting with some of my colleagues. We were the 2018 cohort. So I was sitting with some of my colleagues. There was a neurologist there, a neuroscience there, as psychologists, clinicians, and I always felt probably a bit, sort of in awe of these people, and didn't really feel as if I was kind of up to their level, in terms of intellect and also sort of academia, albeit that I have, good qualifications in business and marketing and brand, a lot of things, but I always felt sort of a bit in awe of them. And that's what I think is the beauty about GBHI, that it brings this multidisciplinary group together. So we all know the famous logic model that we have to prepare at the end of the year when we're preparing for our grants, from that Iracema was talking about there, the funding applications. So I was sitting with this team of colleagues and friends, and I was saying, look, this is my logic model. This is what I want to do. And how would you input it? And I was really nervous. I was really nervous. And I was, and they were saying, oh, that'll not work, or this might work. And by the end of it, I came up with this, healthy aging program that I was going to run when I went back to Age NI. So on the basis of that conversation and on the basis of that interaction with all of those colleagues from all those disciplines, what we put together, I then went back and COVID hit. So I very quickly had to come up with this healthy aging program for people in Northern Ireland. So anyway, long story short, it was called Good Vibrations. It was to help people stay well at home. It had multi-channel distribution. We were doing, right across all the media, all the newspapers, sending out information to people. But that grew. So that grew to a couple of different programs. One was called Good Vibrations for Men, and the other one was called Move More, Live More. And we had the Olympian Lady Mary Peters there as involved in all of that. So in total, probably raised over £3 million in order to deliver these programs, which benefited over 10,000 people directly and about 100,000 people indirectly, but had a reach, across social media that was, quite enormous, across millions of people. So, and it got a lot of coverage. And on that, on the basis of all of that, I was kind of got more international recognition and more national recognition. I'm now the vice president for Europe for the International Federation of Aging, and I worked across a couple of different UK programs. And I really thank GBHI for sort of helping me prepare to get into the position that I'm in today, which is Commissioner for Northern Ireland. And there's only one other commissioner in the UK, which is in Wales. There's not one in Scotland. They're trying to get one in England, and they're trying to get one in Ireland. So I feel very privileged and very thankful to GBHI.
Fantastic. As somebody whose main useful qualification is a forklift truck license, I really value that. I have another qualification, which is a fine art degree, which statistically makes you less employable. It's somebody stood on this stage 2 years ago and said, they showed that actually if you do a fine art degree, you get less money than if you never do any degree at all. So degrees are not necessarily the process for gaining intelligence, but it's a great story and a great example, I think, of what happened from here, what's growing from here. As the Commissioner, you deal with a lot of current challenges, problems and live issues. Irasima talked a little bit about how the programme has evolved over 10 years in GBHI. What's the current challenges that you face and where might this be leading you?
Yeah. I think listeners today will not be surprised that, I always think ageing and an ageing demographic is not exclusive to Northern Ireland, and many of the challenges we're facing today, include what was in the decade for healthy ageing in terms of ageism, combating ageism, access to services, living in age-friendly communities, and having integrated and long-term care. So I did a survey here across, quite a lot of consultation with thousands of older people, and you'll not be surprised to learn that it's access to services, and particular health services, issues around scams and digital inclusion or exclusion, transport and mobility issues, housing and the built environment, and getting access to information and advice and support. So my role as Commissioner is to safeguard and promote the interests of older people and ensure that their issues and concerns are brought to government and, advice given around policies and services. And I suppose, I know, Dominic, you want us to talk about really what we see sort of more in 10 years' time, and I think for me, it's this real, politicians and, planners are just seem to be ignorant of the fact that we need to plan for an ageing demographic. I keep saying in Northern Ireland alone, in the last 10 years, there's over 100,000 more older people or people over 60. And that's all competing for the same services and, that we would have had, so at 10 years back. So it means that we're having people are getting less services for what they would have got than what they would have got 10 years ago. So I just think, for me, it's about, I want to see the change. This is a 4-year role, and I have maybe the opportunity to do another 4 years. So I would be 70 then by the time it finished. But so what I'd love to see then is just people living where services and, environments and technologies are designed for older people with ageing in mind that enable independence and dignity, and people have access to high quality care, clear information and strong rights protections, because we've a lot to do here in Northern Ireland to make sure the rights of older people are protected. And I'm particularly conscious of the UN Declaration of Human Rights, the human rights sort of convention for older people. That's really important, and I'd love to be seeing that landed as well. So I just want to see a society that values aging and challenges ageism in all forms, and realise the vital contribution that we as older people make.
It's a huge culture change to move from the way that we perceive our older age at the moment to the way that we need to embrace it. And a lot of this week touches on that. I'm going to move on to one of your colleagues and a fellow person from Northern Ireland in a minute, but I'm just wondering before you go if there's anything else you want to say before we move on.
I suppose to the fellows out there, I just really embrace this challenge, because it is so magnificent. It's a great opportunity, to be part of this community, the Atlantic Fellows community. I think that's really all, and let's do justice to the wonderful legacy of Chuck Feeney.
Siobhan, thanks a million for making the time to join us. We really, really appreciate it. Appreciate how busy you are. Good luck with the next 4 years. We'll try and talk to you again before then.